We've all been there, sitting across from someone, maybe a friend, a coworker, a family member, and suddenly the conversation hits that point. Maybe it's about politics, religion, gender, vaccines, climate change, or something even more personal. You feel your stomach tense, your throat tightens, and your inner voice screams, "Oh no, not this again." Conversations that were once breezy now feel like battlefield negotiations. Emotions run high, logic disappears, and nobody seems to change their mind. Least of all you. Welcome to the age of the impossible conversation, where dialogue has been replaced with shouting, unfriending, and awkward silence over Thanksgiving dinner. That's exactly why Peter Boghossian and James Lindsay wrote How to Have Impossible Conversations. But this isn't a guide for winning debates or mic-dropping your opponent with YouTube-worthy clapbacks. It's a humble, often hilarious, sometimes uncomfortable manual for learning how to listen better, talk better, and maybe, just maybe, change someone's mind without burning the bridge behind you. Spoiler alert, the goal isn't victory, it's connection, the most important conversation skill you've never learned. The authors waste no time dropping the truth bomb. Most of us have no idea how to talk to people we disagree with. We think we're logical, we think we're kind, but when a disagreement pops up, something ancient takes over. Our inner caveman emerges, armed not with clubs but with cognitive biases and snarky Twitter retorts. The first major shift they offer is this: don't aim to change someone's mind, aim to understand how they came to their belief. That's a radical idea in today's outrage culture. We're wired to argue, to correct, to own the other side. But Boghossian and Lindsay invite us to take a breath. Instead of proving someone wrong, ask questions. Instead of building a case, build a bridge. Because here's the truth. If you can't understand why someone believes what they believe, you have no business trying to change it. This is the foundation of all meaningful conversations. Not persuasion, but curiosity. Start with yourself. Drop the ego and get curious. Before you start sharpening your debate skills or memorizing clever rebuttals, the authors ask you to do something even harder. Work on yourself. Sounds cliché? Maybe, but it's powerful. First, drop the ego. Stop trying to be the smartest person in the room. The goal of a conversation isn't to be right, it's to be effective. That means recognizing that you might be wrong, that your beliefs may be based on shaky evidence, that you have blind spots. Once you've disarmed your own defensiveness, lean into curiosity. Ask yourself, why does this person believe this? What experiences shaped them? What does this belief do for them emotionally? When you're truly curious, you stop seeing people as opponents and start seeing them as human beings. And when people feel seen, they soften. They open up. They're more likely to listen. As the book gently reminds us, you can't shame someone into enlightenment. Talk less, ask more. If there's one golden rule throughout the book, it's this: ask more questions than you make statements. Most of us have conversations like courtroom prosecutors. We present our evidence, make our case, and wait for the other person to collapse under the brilliance of our logic. But real change, deep, lasting, heart-level change, happens when people feel they discovered the truth themselves. This is where something called Socratic questioning comes in. It's less about arguing and more about gently guiding someone to examine their own thinking. Instead of saying, "That's ridiculous. How can you believe that?" Try, "Interesting. How did you come to that conclusion?" Instead of, "You're wrong and here's why," try, "What would make you change your mind?" These kinds of questions lower the temperature. They invite reflection, and they often lead the person to question themselves without ever feeling attacked. And the best part? You don't have to say much. Just be a calm, curious guide. The conversation does the work. Focus on belief strength, not just belief content. Here's a fun little trick the authors teach that flips everything on its head. Don't just ask what someone believes. Ask how strongly they believe it. Most people don't think about belief this way. We assume our opinions are fixed, solid, black and white. But in reality, beliefs exist on a spectrum. Some are rock solid, others are kind of squishy. You just have to help people see that. Try this. On a scale from 1 to 10, How confident are you that this is true? Then follow up with, what would move you up or down on that scale? This takes the conversation out of binary right versus wrong territory and into the nuanced space of self-assessment. Suddenly, people start exploring their own reasoning. They admit doubts. They consider new evidence. And here's the sneaky genius of it all. You didn't change their mind, they did. You just held up the mirror. Drop the labels, save the conversation. One of the fastest ways to destroy a conversation. Labels. She's a libtard. He's a bigot. They're anti-science. He's just brainwashed. The moment a label enters the room, empathy flies out the window. Boghossian and Lindsay make it clear. Labeling someone is a conversational dead end. It shuts down thought. It triggers defensiveness. It reduces complex humans to cartoon villains. So what's the alternative? Use people's own words. Reflect their language. Clarify before you challenge. Say things like, so, if I understand correctly, you're saying, this keeps the person in control of their own identity. It shows respect, and it makes them want to stay in the conversation, rather than storm off or shut down. Labels may feel good in the moment, but they sabotage your long game. Because ultimately, what you're doing isn't combat. It's gardening. You're planting seeds. Use Rappaport's rules to build trust. One of the most practical tools in the book is borrowed from psychologist Anatole Rappaport, and it's basically the conversational version of disarming your opponent by showing you actually understand them. Here's how it works. Restate their position clearly so they feel heard. Mention something you agree with, even if it's tiny. Acknowledge what you learned from them. Then, and only then, raise your objection or alternative view. It's not manipulation. It's empathy in action. You're saying, I see you, I respect you, I value this dialogue, and I have something else to consider. Try this once and watch the shift. People lean in, their walls lower, they listen, and suddenly, what once felt like an impossible conversation becomes a real, human one. Keep the temperature low. You know that moment when someone raises their voice, and you can feel the room change? Yeah, don't be that person. The authors emphasize temperature control throughout the book. When emotions rise, logic dies. You cannot reason with someone whose adrenaline is spiking, nor can you connect when you're the one who's getting heated. So what do you do when things start to boil? You lower the temperature. You slow down your speech. You take a breath. You ask a gentle question. You say something disarming like, this is important to you, isn't it? Or, I really want to understand what you're feeling here. Even a simple, hey, maybe we can pause and come back to this when we're both a little less fired up, can be a gift to both sides. Remember, a calm mind opens doors. A heated one slams them shut. Impossible doesn't mean hopeless. Now, let's be honest. Some conversations really do feel impossible. You try everything, listening, empathy, curiosity, and still hit a wall. The person doubles down. They get angry. They twist your words. They refuse to budge. Should you give up? Sometimes, yes. The authors are refreshingly honest about this. Not every conversation can or should be salvaged. But that doesn't mean it was a waste. Even when someone doesn't change their mind in the moment, you may have planted a seed that grows later. You might be the first person who made them feel heard. The first person who didn't yell. The first person who made them wonder. And sometimes the biggest change happens inside you. You learn to listen better, to question your own assumptions, to practice patience, to stay grounded in difficult moments. The skill of having impossible conversations isn't just about changing others. It's about becoming the kind of person who can hold space for disagreement without losing your humanity.
From polarization to possibility. As the book draws to a close, Boghossian and Lindsay zoom out to a bigger truth. Our society is starving for real conversations. We're more connected than ever, yet more divided. More opinionated, yet less open. We're drowning in tweets, headlines, and hot takes. But we're starving for nuance, humility, and genuine dialogue. What How to Have Impossible Conversations offers isn't just a skill set. It's a mindset, a worldview, a way of being. It's a a quiet revolution in how we engage with people who think differently. And in a world where everyone's shouting, that kind of quiet is powerful. Because here's the final truth. Impossible conversations aren't really about winning or losing. They're about finding common ground, even if it's just the shared space of being human. Final thoughts. Listen like a lifeline. If there's one takeaway from this book, one sentence to tattoo on your conversational soul, it's this. People don't change when they're told they're wrong. They change when they feel understood. In a time where division feels like the norm, how to have impossible conversations is a breath of fresh air. It doesn't pretend this is easy, but it shows us it's possible. It gives us tools, strategies, and real-world examples. But more than that, it gives us hope. Hope that we can talk again, that we can disagree without hate, that we can be wrong without shame, that we can speak and listen with grace. So the next time you feel the tension rising, the blood boiling, the here we go again feeling creeping in, pause, take a breath, ask a question, listen, and remember, you're not in a war, you're in a conversation. And with a little skill, a lot of heart, and the lessons from this brilliant book, that impossible conversation just might become the most meaningful one you've ever had.